Temperate deciduous forests
by Ryan Agola.
in Madison Vic.
Temperate deciduous forests, or temperate broadleaf forests, are dominated by trees that lose their leaves each year. They are found in areas where warm, moist summers alternate with mild winters. The three major areas of this forest type occur in the Northern Hemisphere: Eastern North America, Eastern Asia, and Europe. Smaller areas occur in Southern South America. Examples of typical trees include oak, maple, beech, and elm. The diversity of tree species is higher in regions where the winter is milder, and also in mountainous regions that provide an array of soil types and microclimates.
Unlike the deciduous forests, the tundra is a bleak and treeless place. It's cold through all months of the year. The summer is a brief period of milder climates when the sun shines almost 24 hours a day. It's been called the land of the midnight sun. The short summers last 6 to 10 weeks, and it never gets any warmer than 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The warm weather causes a layer of permafrost ice that never goes away in the ground to melt, creating bogs and shallow lakes that don't drain. They breed stinging insects, which make even life in the summer miserable for the inhabitants of the tundra. The wind blows constantly, whipping around the small plants.
In the desert, there is only approximately 1 inch of rain that fall in the desert each year. The average annual temperatures of these miles of hot sand is 64 degrees Fahrenheit, much hotter than the temperate deciduous forest. Density-dependent factors is a limiting factor of a population wherein large, dense populations are more strongly affected than the small, less crowded ones. Density-dependent factors include food and shelter. Density-independent factors can affect a population no matter what its density is, much like weather, like heavy rain or tornadoes.
The duckbill platypus has a thick covering of hair except for on its bill and feet. Its back is a dark brown and has a light yellow on its stomach. The tail has fatty tissue, which is used to store energy. The body is streamlined and flat. It has short legs and webbed front feet. The back feet are partially webbed. Their feet have broad nails for digging. The males have hollow spurs on their ankles, which carry venom. They use this venom as protection. The black bear's coat is well adapted to the cold weather of winter because of its many layers of shaggy fur. Its claws are also very adapted to its environment. This is because they are just the right length to climb the many trees that surround its forest home. This bear also hibernates to avoid having to find food in the winter. The least weasel's coat is a dirty brown and dirty white color most of the year, but in the winter the fur turns to a pure brown and pure white to blend in with the snow. It has a slender body, which is 4 to 10 inches long. Their eyes are usually black, and their ears are short and stubby, even though they have very good hearing. Least weasels have very good sense of smell with their long nose. Their paws have 5 toes with sharp claws used as weapons in hunting. The European red squirrel has a large bushy tail and strong teeth, which helps it open pine cones. Its tail helps it keep balance when it is jumping from trees. The fat dormouse has also a large bushy tail, which helps it keep its balance while climbing tree branches. The large ears are used to locate sound and provide excellent hearing. The whiskers help the dormouse find its way around in the night. The dormouse is nocturnal.
Plant adaptations include wildflowers that grow on the forest floor earlier in the spring before trees leaf out and shade the forest floor. Many trees are deciduous, and as they drop their leaves in the autumn and grow new ones in the spring. Most deciduous trees have thin, broad, lightweight leaves that can capture a lot of sunlight to make a lot of food for the tree in warm weather. When the weather gets cooler, the broad leaves cause too much water loss and can be weighed down by snow, so the tree drops its leaves. New ones will grow in the spring. The trees also have thick bark to protect against cold winters. Here is the food web. as you can see, it starts out with producers and decomposers, moves on to your primary consumers, then on to your secondary consumers, and then your tertiary consumers.
This is predator and prey. The owl is the predator versus the prey is the fish.
Intraspecific competition is competition within the same species, like these two bucks fighting it out for the female.
Interspecific competition is competition amongst different types of species for food, shelter, etc. One example of an interspecific competition is in the deciduous forest is pines, spruces. Usually it happens when there are two species that share the same resource. As a result, they end up fighting over this resource.
Here are some symbiotic relationships. The first one is commensalism, as the bee drinks the nectar from the flower, and the bee carries pollen from flower to flower, helping gene flow. The next one is parasitism, which when the tick feeds on the deer, and the deer is not benefited from this relationship as the tick is eating it. Here's the energy pyramid. The first level is primary producers, where all the energy comes from the sun. As each level increases, there's only 10% energy flowed through each level.
Net primary productivity is approximately 10 metric tons per hectare per year. It is greatest in the young forest where the trees are rapidly growing towards full size, and it declines in the forests of old trees. It reflects lower density and complexity of the consumer component of the temperate forest ecosystem.
Here's a picture of the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle starts out as photosynthesis releases oxygen into the air. The oxygen is then used by animals, and through cellular respiration, carbon dioxide is a byproduct, which the trees use as fuel. So there's your carbon cycle. Daily cycles in the temperate deciduous forest are pretty much the same every day. The sun rises, and most animals do their stuff. And throughout the day, the sun decreases in intensity, and the sunset comes, and then we have nightfall.
In the summer, the trees' broad green leaves help capture sunlight needed to make food through photosynthesis. As the temperatures drop, the trees cut off the supply of water to the leaves and seals off the area between the leaf stem and tree trunk. With limited sunlight and water, the leaves are unable to continue producing chlorophyll, the green pigment in the leaves, causing them to change into a beautiful red, yellow, and orange-green. What? Scratch that, green. In the winter, it's too cold for the trees to protect their leaves from freezing, so they simply lose them and seal up the places where the leaves were attached to the branch. Before the leaves die, some of the food material they contain is drawn back into the twigs and branches where it is stored and used for the following spring. The warmer temperatures of spring signal the trees that they can grow new leaves again and restart the cycle.
Here we have a picture of secondary succession, where a natural disaster occurs like a forest fire. The forest fire then wipes out all of the existing habitat, and only the soil remains. Secondary succession is one of two types of ecological succession of plant life, as opposed to the first primary succession. Secondary succession is a process started by an event that reduces an already established ecosystem to the smaller population of species, as in secondary succession occurs in pre-existing soil, whereas primary succession usually occurs in place lacking soil. Here is an example of secondary succession by stages. The first is a stable deciduous forest community. The second, a disturbance, such as a wildfire, destroys the forest. Third, the fire burns the forest to the ground. 4. The fire leaves behind empty but not destroyed apples, and they rot. 5. The grasses and other herbaceous plants grow back first. 6. Small bushes and trees begin to colonize the air. 7. A fast-growing evergreen trees develop to their fullest, while shade-tolerant trees develop in the understory. 8. The short-lived and shade-intolerant evergreen trees die as the larger deciduous trees overtop them. The ecosystem is now back to a similar state where it began.
This is the human effect on the deciduous forest. Pollution is the introduction of contaminants into the natural environment which cause adverse change. Pollution can take the form of chemical substances or energy, such as noise, heat, or light. Pollutants, the components of pollution, can be either foreign substances, energies, or naturally occurring contaminants.
Here is what the future will be if we continue polluting our ecosystem. This is our prediction. Thanks, Google.
Thank you.